All right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all. Welcome to the Voice of Men 360 special panel discussion. My name is Madhusha Kalamenan. I'm one of the coordinators for the youth wing at Voice of Men 360. By profession, I am a vocal trainer and a vocal coach, and I'm also working as a project coordinator currently. So let me share a brief intro about what Voice of Men 360 does, and a little bit on International Men's Day and this special panel discussion and why it's important and what it's about. So Voice of Men 360 is a non-profit organization. We're founded in 2020 and we're based in Toronto, Canada. And many boys and men are seeking help and support in many areas of their lives. And we understand the demands and the support needed when it comes to boys and men in our society. So given that, Voice of Men 360 organization was born out of seeing the tremendous need and stepping up to help provide services and help and support to help overcome these challenges in the life of men and boys. So we are also part of International Men's Day. So for those of you who don't know, International Men's Day has been serving for over 21 years and so far 90 countries. Yes, that's 90 countries worldwide have joined together to do various activities regularly. So IMD follows 6 pillars, which is focusing on the overall well-being of boys and men, and we follow also in line of these same footsteps. So today, we would like to celebrate this day as May 7th, the National Child and Youth Mental Health Day. And we here at Voice of Men 360 and World Day of the Boy Child, we want to bring this important panel discussion to you. So May 7th, what is it about? May 7th today is about building those caring connections between young people and the caring adults in their lives and focusing on this sphere as a whole. And we know that having caring, connected conversations can have such a big impact on the mental health of children and youth. So this is something that we have sourced from Family Smarts. So as a further information, what is the World Day of the Boy Child? So this is a really, really pivotal concept. So this is, as short form, we'll call it WDBC. So this was actually inaugurated in 2018. And this year it will be observed in 23 countries across the world. So the policies here, like the ground foundation, is how our boys are reflective of our heritage and they serve as one of our links to the past and the present. And this intersects with the future of our families, communities, and the world. So again, we're always working around a sphere here. We're starting from the individual and working on a community and then on a national, global basis. And institutions, governments, and organizations and individuals throughout our global village will be observing the World Day of the Boy Child, otherwise as WDBC Day, on May 16, 2021, under the theme of Guiding the Boy Child and Positively Impacting the World. So before I start the discussion, I would like to read our disclaimer. So the disclaimer is from this further information about the our policies here at Voice of Men 360. So please be advised that the content brought forward for any event facilitated by Voice of Men 360 is always brought forward in good faith. However, it may bring forth some dialogues or opinions that are sometimes not representative of this organization. The facts and information are believed to be accurate at the time that they are offered. However, all facilitators, guest speakers, panel members, and audience participants are responsible for using their own good judgment in taking any actions that may relate to our discussions. And that being said, the content brought forward may include discussion for some where they may be at emotional risk. So it is important to know that this organization is engaging in discussion forums only for the sole purpose of offering and inspiring awareness and connection and is not providing therapeutic advice. So if you need any crisis intervention or therapy, you need to engage the services of a mental health professional. And if you have any further questions about this disclaimer or the panel discussion, you may freely contact Voice of Men 360 organization through our website, and contact information is also posted throughout. And meanwhile, Voice of Men 360 takes privacy concerns very seriously. So we try to always have and make sure that consent from each panel member is taken in full in order to participate in this panel discussion, and is also received from parents and guardians for those those who are either under caretakers or they're underage. With this now said, going forward, you should choose to voluntarily participate in this event in any capacity, and we welcome you for that. And should you decide that this event is not for you at this time, we also are freely respecting of that choice, and we welcome you to join us again at a later time. So in light of that now that we've completed the disclaimer, I would like to say some special news that I have for everyone. So we actually had an art competition, and finally, we're going to be announcing the winners at the end of the show. So I know we waited a very long time for this, and we're extremely sorry for the long delay. So let's actually delve into the discussion today. So first off, I want to let everyone know, whoever is watching this show, to all the viewers, participants, and everyone who is here to see this even going forward, please feel free to post your comments or questions on our Facebook page, group, or on YouTube. It will also be shared with us so we can address them further if there are any concerns or feedback. We're always looking to grow. And we also today are going to be having youth from various parts of the world. So this is really, really exciting. So we actually have people today here from Ecuador, Trinidad, India, and Canada. So we welcome all to our panel discussion with warm arms, and thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. It's really great to have you all here. I would like to start with asking each of you to take about 30 seconds to 1 minute just to introduce yourself, and I'm going to start with me. So my name is Madisha Kalamin, and as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm from Canada. Currently, right now, I am working as a project coordinator, and I am also a vocal coach and trainer, focusing on bringing out music and talents and trying to bring out self-confidence as well in every growing artist, whether that's for young or for old individuals as well. So I would like to hear some information about you guys too. Whoever would like to start.
I can start. So my name is River Christy White. I am Oneida Nation, which is First Nations from Canada. I am a student right now working towards getting my degree in music for vocal performance and live performance. I am excited to be a part of this discussion because of mental health is a topic that I'm very big on, and expressing yourself, whether it's through music or art or through anything else. And I thank Voice of Men 360 for this opportunity.
Very nice, very nice. Thank you so much for the introduction. Very great to meet you. I'm happy to hear about all of your ventures and some of your skills. So it seems like you're definitely in the right place, I hope. So I hope you'll have more to contribute to as well going forward. Wishing you all the best. And who would like to go next?
Ma'am, I would like to come next.
Okay.
Yeah. So my name is Zoya Ansari and I'm from India. I'm pursuing my graduation in BA Political Science Honours from the University of Delhi. I'm also keen about international relations and diplomacy, and I wish to pursue the same in my post-graduation. And apart from that, I'm doing an internship with Helping Hand International. And today I'm representing India, and I'm very thankful to Voice of Men 360 to give me this opportunity. So thank you, everyone.
Great. Thank you so much for that introduction, Zoya. Really appreciate it. It's great to hear about your initiatives, and congratulations on all the steps that you've taken coming forward. Looking forward to hear from you as well. So thank you for that. Who else would like to go next?
Hi, everyone. I am Ajay Allen from Trinidad and Tobago. I actually live on the island of Tobago because it's a twin island republic. I'm a two-time National Youth Parliamentarian, as well as a two-time National Youth Assemblyman in Tobago. I would have recently joined an organization in Tobago called the Be Male Examples, which would have afforded me this opportunity to represent Trinidad and Tobago, and by extension, the Caribbean region. And I really look forward to the discussion this afternoon.
Great. Thank you so much for that introduction. Very, very interesting to hear from someone from this part of the world. I've actually not got to hear some perspectives up to today from those areas. So thank you so much for being a part of this today. I'm really looking forward to hear more from you as well too. And who else would like to go next?
I can go next. So, hi, my name is Tobias Kumar. I'm currently a grade 12 student hoping to pursue a undergraduate degree in humanities and social sciences coming this September. I'm really big on mental health in general because I feel like there still is a lot of stigma around the topic, and I want to break that down as much as possible. I would also like to thank Voice of Men for 360 for having me here today.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that introduction as well. I'm very, very happy to hear that you're passionate about, discussing mental health and helping to create a change for everyone. So definitely great to hear that. Hope to hear more from you as well too. And if I've missed anyone, you can definitely go ahead now as well to introduce.
Thank you very much. I am Natalia Barca. I am from Ecuador. I am General Director of Tobago Solutions. I'm also a National Director of Agriculture Progress in the Global Networking of Youth Politicians of Ecuador. Also, I'm local coordinator of Students for Liberty and president of Ecuador of Helping Hand International and World Boys Organization. Thank you very much for Voice of Men 360 for the invitation, and thank you very much for all to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that really, really rich introduction about yourself. I can see that you're definitely involved in many, many things. So I think there'll be many things that you can contribute as well. So thank you for sharing that information. Welcoming you all once again to the Voice of Men 360 and to today's panel discussion. And now I'm just going to go forward with some discussion questions that we can talk about further to see how we can really make change and maybe bring to light some different perspectives that you will all have to offer regarding how you have experienced certain things around the world. So first, I'd like to be asking you all, feel free to answer, jump in and answer, but what does it mean for you guys to have healthy mental health? So mental health being itself a form of health, now that I know over time was, in the past at least, has not really been recognized as a form of health. So what does it mean to you guys to have healthy mental health? So anyone can answer this question. So whoever would like to share an opinion on it.
I can go.
Sure.
So in terms of having healthy mental health and good mental health in general, I feel like it's an equal part balance of both making sure that your mind, body, and spirit are all in line with each other. And although that is a bit more of a spiritual approach to it, I feel like taking care of yourself and trying to take care of the people around you at the same time is sort of what having mental health is about.
Great. So I think that's a really, really good answer. For sure, having healthy mental health, it's supposed to be a balance of everything, likewise for all health. And I really like that you mentioned that balance, because often we associate the idea of balance typically with diet. We only try to think that it means physical health, but we never think that our mind needs to be in balance. So that's definitely a really good point. Is there anyone else who would like to contribute to this?
So for me, having a healthy mental health would be relative to being able to think positively and have good coping mechanisms for when you are feeling stressed or when you're having those down days. I think part of being able to have a healthy mindset and mental health is partially due to your environment and how you surround yourself with positive reinforcements and supports. And I think that it can definitely be displayed through your behavior and helping others and helping yourself and knowing when to reach out for those supports.
Yes, thank you so much as well for sharing your perspective on that. So definitely, I like that you touched on some ideas here about the environment and then coping mechanisms and how we actually display that in our behavior. So definitely coming from yourself as an artist as well too, and I'm also an artist, I can definitely relate with that. And definitely using art in itself in any form. There's so many forms of art, so that I think that's what's beautiful about it. But it gives us so many ways to cope, and coping mechanisms are surely very important because we need to find strategies that are very fine tailored to us in how we can actually manage any of the challenges that we're facing. And when these challenges are not managed, definitely it affects with how our behavior is reflected. So how our family feels around us, how our friends may feel, or how we feel around them, even for that matter. So definitely those are some important points. So thank you for sharing that. Is there anyone else who would like to answer for this?
Yeah, well, for me, I believe good mental health has to do with your ability to manage circumstances and make wise or the best decision under the circumstances you're working. So it's being able to manage what's happening physically around you as well as what's happening mentally and emotionally and in all aspects of life. Because it's not just mentally, it's not just a mental thing or something that has to do with the mind alone. Because I'm of the philosophy that the greatest tool given to man is the mind. So once you have a good control over your mind, you'll be able to manage almost everything else pretty comfortably.
Yes. Most definitely. Thank you so much, Ajay, for sharing that perspective. So I loved how you touched on the idea of it being of an all aspects of life. So very commonly, I've noticed as well too, when we associate mental health, we tend to think of it more on a personalized basis, where we try to localize the effects of it more to the individual and rather forget about how it's tied into every aspect of our life. So like you said, it could be tied into our workplace environment. It could be for an educational institution, your family, your friends, even when it comes to a public society or community. So definitely it's very, very important to be managing it that way. So that being said, thank you so much to all for sharing your perspectives on that. I'm just going to move on to the next question here. So the next one we're going to be talking about is what you guys can see as some possible barriers and likewise some strategies to overcome this healthy mental health. So I know you guys already touched on some of the ideas, like we heard about coping strategies and sometimes about how it ties into all aspects of our life. But what are some barriers you think that you see in today's society, based on your lifestyles, of how it affects our healthy mental health? What makes it difficult to have this healthy mental health, and how we can improve that?
And I'll be the first to jump in here.
Sure.
I think one of the critical issues, particularly for our region, is culture. We have what we call a pick-on culture, where something happens to someone, we are a lot quicker to make fun of it, because making fun of jokes is one of the coping mechanisms in the region. But it's not always as effective as I believe it should be, and it's something we should monitor. So instead of somebody does something different or strange or what we are not typically accustomed to, they are referred to as being mad or crazy, or they need psychiatric evaluation, which typically may not be the correct way to deal with that situation. That not because something is different or we're uncomfortable with it means that that position is wrong. So in order to break that down, I think we need to begin to change the culture and how we accept persons who are different or does things different to us.
Yes, that's actually very interesting that you mentioned that about how we have that pick on kind of culture. It's definitely something that I even never really thought of as a really big deal, but that's actually true because I've experienced that personally. I feel that we see that a lot, especially with the younger generation, or with children. And I feel like this is where sometimes bullying and social issues also root out of, for children who are growing up, where they feel like if they're dealing with something difficult or it's affecting their behavior, they feel like right away it's a trend where everyone wants to either pick on them or make fun of them. And I guess it's just kind of also it's not also intentional, but we just kind of want to laugh it off and just make it be like, okay, it's just a funny thing and forget about it. But really, mental health has such deep effects on an individual that go so much beyond that. So I think it's really great that you mentioned that we need to monitor that. It's very important to see how we can take our steps forward to to assist with that. So that's really great. Is there anyone else who would like to share their perspectives too?
In my opinion, branching off of what was just said, not only is it the pick-on culture that we have, but also the trivialization of mental health amongst youth and adolescents. The idea that it's just a phase, or other sorts of things that people use to try to make others feel better about it, but at the same time, it feels very demeaning as the person going through it, or it can feel like no one really cares about it, just because of people are trying to make it seem not as bad as it is. You see it all the time with the youth and the adolescents, like your peers and stuff like that, or even sometimes adults, where you'll come up to them with a issue or a situation and they'll just say, oh, it's just a phase, or you'll get through it, or stuff like that. And we need to look at being able to address those and be able to move forward on taking those concerns not as light as we used to, and being able to actually assist when people need help.
Most definitely. That's a very, very crucial point that you touched on there. I really like that you mentioned the form of trivialization and phases. I know definitely I've seen people, and even in our like in my parents' generation, and I've seen where people just try to always, like you said, try to kind of make it as like blocks of your life, like just phases where it's like, yeah, you'll get over it. It's just kind of a very common thing that people try to brush off. But of course, like you said, for the person who's experiencing it, feels very demeaning, and these can definitely be barriers in helping us share to actually come out with any issues that we're facing, because we often feel like we don't want to speak about it, we don't want to discuss about it, because it's of course it's just a phase. So definitely, I think it's important that we're here more to listen, and I guess to, of course, acknowledge the seriousness, like you said. So acknowledge that this is something that really is affecting the person, and what we can actually do to be there for them, rather than just kind of push them away and say that it's going to get better. Just wait, it will, and deal with it. So that was really great. Is there anyone else who would like to also share? I haven't heard from a couple people, so I'd like to hear.
Yes. To follow the comment of my partner, I think that clearly our young people are entering the dialect circles and these very important issues. I believe that our young people now than ever are more prepared and encouraged and trained to defend this individual, not because of the race, sex, or ethnicity, but because of the dignity that each one possesses as being human being.
Yes. So thank you so much, Natalie, for sharing that. So I think that's really important to consider the importance of being a human being. So like you said, so the being able to actually acknowledge the self-worth of an individual. So for them to recognize their self-worth, and then for also them to recognize, each person around them. So that humanity, the sense of humanity, I think that's very, very important, especially in a society where we're growing today in terms of trying to encompass mental health. So I can see definitely, in terms of social media, we see it a lot more on TV than we used to, definitely maybe when we were all growing up, or at least I know for me, when I was growing up, mental health was just a complete out of the question. I have never seen it on TV. I have never seen it in any children's programs, or even in school. We had never heard of this. So until we really got into like high school or the later years was when we had it. And I think it's important, like you said, trying to acknowledge everyone around you and being able to appreciate yourself. So that's definitely something that helps with, your self-discipline, confidence, and being able to, of course, be healthy within ourselves. So this is where we come to that healthy mental health. When we keep that balanced, healthy mental health, then we're able to also assist others in the process too. So thank you for sharing that. Is there anyone else who would like to share on this? Okay, so everyone is silent. So I'm guessing that we're kind of running out of answers for this one. So no problem. Thank you for everyone who has shared for this one. So I'm going to move forward then. So let's talk about some of the stigmas and discrimination. So all the areas where we tend to have common ideals shaped around this. How do you think this affects mental health for youth and children nationally? So when I say nationally now, I'm really excited to hear for this question, because I only know as far, for example, of how it's affected people here in Canada. I see it with youth and children, how stigmas and discriminations affect, but I would love to hear about how it affects in your areas as well too. So who would like to start?
I can start with the first thing that I was going to talk about related to this question was just that I find that there aren't only stigmas and discriminations towards like people with mental health, but also there are a lot of stigmas and discriminations against people here in Canada that cause a lot of mental health issues or cause a lot of self-doubt. And for example, as a First Nations person, there's a lot of stigma and discrimination around like the idea that most First Nations people are low income or alcoholics or stuff like that. And that really weighs on you as a youth or adolescent who's trying to make their way through society and do the best that you can. So not only is there just the stigma around mental health about, we had talked before about how mental health is perceived as something that makes that could be seen as you being crazy or you being out of your mind or things like that. But also like there's also racial and cultural discrimination and stigma that can lead to mental health issues.
Yes, most definitely. So thank you for mentioning all of those. I can definitely relate to some of your experiences, as you mentioned that there have been some stigmas, around how they identify, your general community and how they feel that, like how others feel that, this is how a society is meant to be, and hence you will also be a part of that. So it's almost like a sense of labeling. I can kind of feel where you're coming from. So I see that this is something that can definitely affect mental health of youth and children, of course, because like you said, when you're trying to make your way through society, everyone starts as a fresh plate, I like to say, right? Or like a blank slate, like we say that in psychology too, because we all start off fresh, and that's how we start to slowly delve our way into interest, into different skills, and that's how we discover where we find our place in society. And of course, when we have many different labels and barriers like this that put us down constantly, or demean our efforts, that makes it very, very difficult for you to come forward, or for you to even feel free to share your interests or your dreams of coming forward, and that can have a significant toll on mental health for sure. Can I hear from someone else as well too, preferably who hasn't spoken?
So I would like to share my experience. Actually, in India, we have some stigmas attached to education, because when you come to class 11th, then you have to select your stream. So in India, I don't know how many of you know about this, but people in India are usually inclined towards some technical field or maybe sciences. So even if a student is interested in studying humanities, and if he or she opts to do so, they are usually labeled as if they are not interested in studying. So this has been my personal experience. Like, I always wanted to be a leader, so I chose this field, but at the same moment my parents were not much happy. So at that moment of my life, I felt a little bit alone, and still there's a fear of failure in me, whether I would be able to accomplish that thing which I have always dreamt of. So I think this can also lead to some kind of depression or maybe mental health issues, and sometimes have those anxieties. So I think in India, education is also a thing which can lead to mental health. So this is my personal experience.
Yes, most definitely. Thank you so much, Zoya,
Yeah.
for sharing your perspective on that. Definitely, I agree that education is something that is, for sure, a stigma and a discrimination, and I'm sure it has such significant effects on you, and even you've seen it with your peers and your colleagues, etc. With as you were growing up, and I've seen it too. And of course, I'm also from the South Asian culture as well too, background, so I can definitely relate with that, because we typically grow up with these stigmas instilled in us. Like it's common to hear our parents, or we hear families, and in my personal experience, I know even my family would say, oh, when she grows up, she's definitely going to be a doctor. So, and at the age of just 5 or 6, like we're always just thinking of like how to make new friends. We're excited to go to school, we're excited to learn, we're excited to have fun. And when school is exposing you to so many different things, like like art class, social sciences, history, writing, math, everything, it seems like it's also overwhelming, but it's also so interesting. And when we develop our own interest towards a certain area, and then suddenly everyone says you can't do that, then it just feels like like, why are you asking me then what is my favorite thing? So definitely can feel very discriminating. And I've heard also too, a common stigma too associated with our culture, and you might experience it too, with in terms of the grades, like where everyone has to get the absolute best grades, and if you don't, well, then you're not a smart child. And everyone is always like, you're the most disgraced child to my family. It's very, very common. I've heard that too from people, where they're just saying like, I guess you're not very smart in school, clearly. So that's very, very demeaning for sure, because there is so many careers around this world for every single person. And honestly to say, I just want to say to anybody who is listening to this, and to all who are participating, whatever you're good at, wherever you feel that your heart is, you have to follow it. That is the only thing that will take you forward, and it will be the only thing that will keep you in your best mental health. So we're discussing this healthy mental health. That means you can keep doing whatever you have to do. So everything is always commonly associated with, I want to say something here, the stigma and discrimination, where it's rooted from is from history's association with money, economy, because every single educational field is only associated with money. So everyone tends to demean any kind of field or job that essentially doesn't make you a good salary. So essentially you're considered not smart, you're automatically associated as a poor family. So of course, if we compare a farmer's family versus an engineer, everyone wants to always say, well, the engineer is the best family, they're rich, they're well off. So these are things that really, really need to stop. So going forward, anybody who is watching this, to those who have children, or even if you have brothers, sisters, family, always, I want to say, encourage each other to keep going forward in whatever you're excelling in, whether that's writing, whether it's in sports, it's anything. You have to keep trying at it, and it will take you somewhere. It may not be right away, but for sure it will, but that will keep you up in your mental health. So thank you so much to all of you who shared some really, really great perspectives on this. I'm happy to hear of that, and I'm really, really excited to hear more too. So I'm gonna cut short here. Going forward, I want to ask you guys, do you ever feel like youth or children, or even if you have experiences with anyone else, even adults or the elderly, do you ever feel like people are forced to behave to like certain images or standards? So kind of like these discriminations or these labels that we create. Do you feel like people are forced to be in that? You can share any of your personal experiences.
I'd like to talk a little bit about that. I do feel like in a lot of families and a lot of places around the world that there are these ideologies that are put upon children when they're first born or when they start to grow up, especially at a young age. And I feel like a lot of that does have to do with things like economic status of the family, or whether the child is the oldest, the middle, or youngest. And with each of these differentiations of children within a family, I feel like they each have their own specific roles that they have to fulfill. For example, being the eldest of my family, I feel like I've always been sort of the standard of what my sibling has to follow, and not necessarily follow my footsteps, but just the sort of expectations that are going to be placed upon them.
Yes, most definitely. So thank you so much, Tobias, for sharing that. I definitely can understand what you're saying here in terms of those labels where children are always, like I said, forced to, to fall into that category. And I feel like that's definitely very detrimental, because we always, like I know from my experience of studying in psychology, and for those of you who do know as well too, you've commonly heard that, children are like sponges. So, we absorb every single thing, and our growing years, so like, from birth all the way up to even 13, 14, even up to 20 years, whatever, it's your most foundational critical years. And when we're building that foundation and you have someone constantly putting a weight on top of that, it doesn't allow you really to grow, right? So it's like a tree that you only choose to water selective sides. This is how I like to see a child's life in my perspective. It's like a tree where you only want to water certain roots because you only want that root to grow. But there's so many roots, there's so many things that child could do and be capable of. But we are so used to growing up with everybody telling you, well, you should do better in math, you should do better in science, or you can't be failing that, or how come you don't like school? Well, I've seen in my personal experience, I've also worked with some children also who have different abilities, special needs as well too. And I used to see that even if they were maybe not as fond of, the typical academic curriculum, so for example, math, physics, science, history, maybe they were good at other things. They would actually be good at, like creating things. They're actually very good at creating different ideas, or sometimes they're actually good at making things, so these are actually things that can help in their future lives. But of course, it's very common by society to demean it. So yes, that's very important. Thank you for touching on that. Is there anyone else who would like to share a perspective too on how we're forced to behave in a certain way?
So in my experience in communities, especially in First Nations communities where they're very tight-knit and close, sometimes you end up getting compared or referred to like other kids as well. So for example, say like you have cousins or you have other families who are close to yours. sometimes you'll get held to the standards of them where it's like, oh, this person's doing like high 90s or something like that in school, and you're only getting 60s. Why is that? Or things like that where it's just people are making you feel less because of someone else is achieving more. And I feel like, as you were talking about, that very much depends on ability. And I feel like that affects youth and children's mental health, especially if it's something that like the math or sciences or higher academic courses that are commonly associated with intelligence, because of not everyone is intelligent in the same ways, because of like there's always the idea of referred intelligence where like you may not be good at academics, but you might be good at music, or you might be good at art, or there's many other different things that you could be good at, even though you might not be a high achiever in science or math.
Exactly. Yes, that's very, very important. I like that you actually mentioned the aspect of grade for sure, because when we talk about that, I feel like this sense of discrimination stigma is instilled. I'm not sure about those of you who are participating from other areas outside of Canada, other countries outside of Canada. We have here as well too, like the metric grading system where we have a class average. So we tend to actually grow up always with this sense of you're not average, or you have to fall into the average. So I feel like this is a very poisonous term. I know it used to really, really upset me when I grew up, where in any subject, if I always saw class average, where everyone was either getting A plus, B plus or something, or even once we get to higher, we actually use like the numeric term. So it would be like, everyone is getting an 85% in the class. And here's me bringing my report card, even after me working so hard. And if I got like a 67, I just felt like, I'm falling below those standards. So definitely, I think that's very important that you touched on that. So I would like to also hear if there's any perspectives from Natalia as well too. I haven't heard this much too. So if you can mention one of your opinions on this as well.
Yes, and I would like to talk about this radical feminism that we are living today, and also in my country. Also, it is true that this is an issue, and this issue is old, and it had a great force with the theme of women's empowerment. A very bad concept because now our children and the youth, our boys, do not know until what point or and to take the line of generosity of clarity with a woman. And if a man opens the door to a woman, immediately comes to mind a woman as the weaker sex. What we must defend is the individual to the equal treatment before to the law, the which we all have the dignity and the collaborative work. No, so that's my point of view. I think.
Yes, most definitely. Thank you for sharing your opinion. So definitely, I think it's for sure. I think then in that case, it is something that is prevailing worldwide for sure. And that's why I really like this discussion, is because we get to hear about how this is affecting people nationally. So it's not just me or it's not just you, but it affects everyone in various different ways. And by us hearing these different perspectives, it actually helps us with maybe, you will leave this discussion today thinking, hey, this also happens like this there. Maybe we can do something about it like this. It always generates new ideas. So I think that's really great. Going forward, I want to ask you guys, do you think youth, children, mental health is affected equally around the world, or could it differ? So equally in terms of, do you feel that everyone feels depression the same way around the world? Or maybe do you feel like some learning disabilities or learning challenges are experienced differently or same around the world? So I haven't heard much from Ajay for a little while. You've been quiet. So can I hear some opinion from you on this question?
Okay, well, in Trinidad and Tobago, it's a bit interesting because first to the beginning, you would find data on mental health, but you generally wouldn't find it as it relates to youth. And unfortunately for me, while pursuing studies, I had the sad opportunity of having a very close classmate of mine committed suicide. And I remember in the aftermath, when they came and the council began to speak with members of my class, the class got a lot angry. Reason being is that this council at the point in time were not listening to us as classmates, because there were certain signs and signals that classmates and students were picking up but no one took us seriously. So we at times we wonder if mental health among youth in our region is seen as something important, or if it's seen as after you become of a certain age, you would just grow out of it. As well as unemployment is also a critical problem we find in the Caribbean region. So we will go out, we'll be told while growing up, you study, you get your degrees, you become the doctors, the lawyers, and all of the niceties. And when we do return to our countries to look for jobs, we can't find jobs. So it now becomes problematic for us to create families and to provide, and to create that kind of space where we could really be expressive. We also find where young men are not allowed to be or to appear to be weak. So you must always give this strong, rugged perspective. And you're not allowed to express your emotions, so we always tend to have it pent up. And that would lead to a lot of other issues, inclusive of crime, gender abuse, domestic assault, and we see where it leads into a lot of other areas because we don't have the young men given the opportunity to be as expressive and to release a lot of their emotions. So I'm not sure if that's an international issue as well. There
Yeah.
are also another,
Yeah, go ahead. You can.
there are also another area that is becoming pretty critical here to us. Generally, our education system is co-ed, so we have both male and female students in the class, and we tend to see a trend where the young ladies are academically they have the edge on us, and that's something natural. That's from birth. That's God given. However, when we begin to see the grades, we always tend to find they're comparing the male students to the female students, which can be very discouraging to male students, which usually will lead to dropouts. These young guys would turn to drugs and alcohol. And sometimes when they have females around them who are more financially stable, they tend to get aggressive, which generally doesn't make sense. But our education system could be a little more accommodating and put less pressure on the young men locally. But I'll stop here because there's a lot we could go into in terms of that balance and the pressure being applied to young males within our region. But I'll just stop here for the while.
Hmm. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Ajay, for sharing your perspective on that. So definitely, you touched on actually a multiple bunch of things of how you see that the youth or children and men or how they are affected, especially given that educational sector and how you guys have those pressures. So definitely, I can relate with that for sure, and it's interesting to hear that perspective of like you mentioned that rugged personality, so that rugged perspective and being expecting that they have to fall into this type of a category. And definitely I can imagine for you how difficult it might have been dealing with someone having them commit suicide, and how that would have affected you within your peer circles, as well as even going forward. It's obviously a life experience that you'll never forget. So for sure, this is something that comes down to the point that I like to share, that mental health is certainly not affected equally around the world. It is affected in the sense, like when we want to say equally, I want to say equally, meaning in the sense that everyone experiences it for sure. It happens all over the world. When we say that, it's equal. But in terms of the extent and the method and how it is affecting individuals, it totally differs across the world, because for sure each type of economy, like for example, like Ajay mentioned for us about how their educational system is and maybe less accommodating. So these things can affect and create more barriers for learning perspectives and etc. So that's something also too that I can imagine I would see around the world too. Can I also hear if there's any opinion from Zoya as well too on this?
Yeah, so I think mental health as an issue doesn't vary across country, because we can't say that mental health can be compared from one country or the other. But yes, the reasons behind someone having mental health issue from maybe two different countries can vary, but the effect will be almost the same if someone is experiencing depression. So we can't say that just because he or she is from two different countries, they will be experiencing two different kind of depressions. Maybe the reason behind the depression may be different because of the cultures they're having, but they will experience more or less the same effects. But yes, after one is having some mental health issue, how it is tackled and how the society is treating someone may vary across countries.
Yes, most definitely. Thank you, Zoya, for
Yeah.
sharing that. So that's actually a very important perspective because, yes, it's important that we need to not demeanor the effects of, mental health. We don't want to undermine it and say that, like it's not a big deal here, but it's a big deal there. So definitely it's important all around the world. Everyone is experiencing it. So that's definitely a challenge, like you said. But yes, of course, there might be some times where we feel that the reasons are different and maybe the way they are able to access resources might be different across countries. So for example, like maybe for you in India, it might be sometimes in certain areas it might be difficult for certain people to access resources, and likewise too, even for me, I've seen in my personal experience, even in Canada here, there are people who face many different barriers to reaching out for resources, maybe because of their family circles, or even education, etc. So now, before I move on, I actually want to touch on, I received a message here from one of the Facebook users who are watching this. So thank you to whoever who has posted this question. Thank you for your time in watching this today. So I see your question here. So what are some of the most challenging things here that we see during COVID-19 among the youth? So I would like to share my personal opinion here first, and then I will shift on to everyone else as well too. But answering to your question, I feel like some of the biggest challenges during the COVID-19 pandemic for youth definitely has been the period of isolation. So this idea that we've been locked down and that we've been tied away almost from all of our social interactions. I can't imagine what this world will be like if we even do resume to a normal someday, because I feel like it will be very, very difficult for many youth to actually be as social or as interactive or even as comfortable in groups of people as they once were, or maybe they may have not been, and this has even made it more difficult for them. So this period of the lockdown, a lot of people mentioned that oh, it brings lots of benefits, like people got to focus a lot on themselves, which I agree with. I've seen many personal experiences, and it has brought out a lot of talents in people because they've had more time to focus on their talents. But likewise, we're not able to have that social interaction and the sense of appreciation. The reason why I can share on this is because I'm a singer. So prior to COVID-19, I performed on stages here in Canada on almost a weekly basis, at least 2 to 3 times a week. And, outside of my profession and even my education, being up on that stage every weekend with a different group of people listening to me with a different set of songs I was singing, it made me very, very happy. And it's not even like a sense where I relied on that for my happiness, but it would definitely be something that helped with my confidence, and it made me feel very comfortable with larger groups of people. But today, I actually will be honest, where I sometimes feel a little bit shy, or I feel anxious to be around even smaller groups of people, just because I feel like, oh, I haven't seen them in a long time, and I don't maybe dress up as much as I used to, like I did for my shows, and then I feel like, what will they think of me? Maybe I'm being socially awkward. So I don't know, this is my personal opinion, and does anyone else have to share on this as well too, on how maybe COVID-19 even affected you or any youth
Yeah,
So
ma'am, I would like to share. Okay. Okay, so should I continue?
Yeah, you could continue, and then yes, thank you, Zoe.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So in India, which is reporting the highest number of cases, and so many people are dying over here. So after almost 3-4 days, every day we come to know that some of our near ones, maybe our professor and all people who are not well, they are just leaving us from this world. So I think these kind of news in India are affecting a lot to youth. And apart from that, the youth are also facing some challenges. Like the biggest question for them now is what will happen next? When will this all end up? And when we'll be able to continue our studies, and whether we are going to have exams or not? And what we will be doing after 1 year when we'll complete our graduation? Are the things going to be normal as they used to be earlier? So I think all these questions are, I think, the biggest challenge for the youth in the present context, I would say. So that's all.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing that. And is anyone else? I think I heard a couple of other people who wanted to share too. So
Yeah, I would jump in here.
okay.
For us in Trinidad and Tobago, it has been really challenging. Initially, we were one of the countries which were managing the pandemic really well, but we had a large unemployment. We also had us to convert or to adjust our educational system to suit the online market. And currently, we are having a lot of complaints from both students and teachers having to cope now with this online system. We are seeing where, particularly for the younger in the population, they're having a challenge staying focused and looking at a computer screen for an extended period of time, which might sound kind of ironic because we usually spend a lot of our time on social media. So it's challenging for them in that regard. We also are a very large country on sport, but the Caribbean region on a whole, we believe heavily in cricket and football and having that social interaction. And it's challenging for us where we can't even go out and have a sweat. As usual, release some of the stress and some of the toxins within the region, and it's beginning to have or to take a toll on us. We also are a very social people. Caribbean people, we love to hug, we love to cook, we love to lime, and being locked down for that extensive period of time is beginning to weigh on us mentally, physically. A lot of us are beginning to put on weight while some of us are losing weight rapidly. But we do look forward to life post COVID-19. Hopefully, it happens as soon as possible.
Yes, most definitely. Thank you so much, Ajay and Zoya, for sharing your perspectives on that. So definitely, like you both have mentioned, I think one of the biggest challenges is, like Zoya mentioned, so these questions. Always there's unanswered questions that we all have, and we don't know when we're finding a solution to. It's very, very unfortunate the situation that this COVID-19 pandemic has created for everyone. And like Ajay mentioned as well too, I believe education and these social interactions are very, very highly impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic because, of course, for less privileged areas or areas where they have more deprivation in the economy, it will be a difficulty for children to sustain an education, of course, when they don't have as much access to resources. And of course, like I hear from many people that the education system does not feel the same as, actually taking the time to get ready every morning, wake up, travel, go to school, see your friends, be able to see your teacher, interact and engage with all your class activities. So it's very, very different when you're just looking at everything on one screen. So definitely, I feel like these are some big challenges. And just going forward now, I want to touch on as we come to the end. What are some important or the most important areas you think we should focus on in mental health? So, for example, that could be education, self care, it could be social media, publicity, how we can bring this forward. But what is the most important area? If I can hear from Tobias?
I feel like in terms of making that long-lasting impact, when it comes to mental health in general and just the topic of mental health, I feel like it comes down to ensuring that what we're saying is being heard by our target audience. I feel like it's in Canada, especially, mental health is just something that comes around every now and then. For example, we have Bell Let's Talk Day where we prioritize talking about mental health, and after that, nothing really happens about mental health until the next Bell Let's Talk Day. So I feel like continuing this uphill battle of making sure what we're saying is being heard is one of the best ways that we can leave that long lasting impact that we're looking for.
Yes, most definitely. So I agree with your perspective. So it's very important that we make prolonged efforts for whatever we're trying to fight for, which is to actually have healthy mental health for everyone. And how we can make that available is by making it a priority every day. So just like a part of our regular health, our regular daily social tasks, it's important to discuss it and keep it in touch all the time. So that's really important. Is there anyone else also who would like to share on this?
For me, I focus on helping youth and adolescents with mental health would be talking about and opening up a discussion on mental health with regards to social media. Because social media is very prevalent in the newer generations, like my generation, the generations after me, it comes down to us having to make people aware as well as work on allowing opening the dialogue for understanding of others, because of a lot of the issues with bullying and the reason why social media influences your mental health so much is because of the lack of understanding, sometimes whether it's based on culture, ethnicity, location, as well as the idea that if you don't follow these stringent sets of like norms that people set out, that you are weird or you're different or you don't belong. So I feel like by addressing those things and opening up dialogue about mental health and acceptance and working on reducing the amount of bullying and hopefully eliminating it that goes on social media, I think that would definitely help with a lot of people in regards to mental health.
For sure. So thank you so much for sharing that as well. So definitely I agree that that's very important going forward, that like you said, we have this opening up dialogue about mental health. So it's very important to like we all are saying, keeping it as a part of our daily lives is the only way that you can keep it alive, rather than just having one day to talk about it. Or for example, even for just this panel discussion today, it shouldn't be something that we just come together to talk about once, or we just want to share on our story once because everyone else is sharing it. So social media it can be a very powerful thing, and it can also be very detrimental. So it goes both ways like a seesaw. So it's very important that we keep that balance, but the only way we can do that is by making it a part of our daily lives. So we shouldn't make mental health something that is just a trending issue, but it should be something that is considered on a daily basis. So that's definitely true. And now going forward, I want to ask you guys, just before we wrap up, does anyone have any questions for each other, or if they have any questions for me, feel free to state at this time.
Okay, well, I'll go first. I have a question for our Indian, or for my Indian colleague and the panel this afternoon. What we are seeing happening locally here is our government is trying their best to not allow our country to get to the stage where your country is at. And well, we are closely related, Trinidad and Tobago and India, through sports and as well as health and so on. So what advice would you give to the persons of Trinidad, or the young persons of Trinidad and Tobago, seeing that we are trying to avoid getting to where your country is at? And what advice would you also give to the leaders of Trinidad and Tobago? Thank you.
Okay, so obviously, you might be aware of the situation in India. So at this moment, the statements given by like the government of any country will always be something very positive and something which will just smoothen the situation. So we can't judge on what is said today. So that's all my comments for now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And is there any other questions that anyone else has to ask, or you can feel free to ask one of the colleagues in here, or in general, if you have a question for me as well too. Okay, so if I'm not hearing questions, then so in that sense, I'm going to close off with my comments as well too. So I want to say that today I feel that it was a really, really valuable discussion that we had. It was so important to hear of all these different perspectives from everyone, of how they have been personally affected, or how they saw that their societies were affected by the youth and children's mental health, and even in general of how the COVID-19 pandemic has played its role and taken a toll on mental health. And we also focused on really great topics of how we can use strategies to eliminate this, make this a part of our daily lives, and even to create that healthy mental health. It's very important to start with ourselves, and then we want to work on a sphere basis, like I was mentioning from the beginning. So we want to start with ourselves, then work with our families, we want to help our households, and we want to hopefully help a society and create for a better world as well someday. So that's only possible through a community effort when we work together like that. So thank you so much to all of you. Specifically, so I want to mention a thank you to River White, to Ajay Alain, to Zoya Ansari, Tobias Kumar, and Natalia Barca. So thank you so much. I want to thank each of you for all of your opinions, and for sharing your personal stories. And I think we had a very productive discussion. So now, before I wrap up, I would like to announce our art competition winners. So I know we've been waiting a very, very long time. I'm eager to find out. So first, before I mention that, also I want to thank our sponsors who have wholeheartedly supported this competition, especially during such a difficult time like this during COVID-19 pandemic. I know it's very economically stressful for many people, but even that, so thank you for taking the time to acknowledge these artists and for their hard work. So first, the first prize that has been awarded is a $250 compensation. This is from the courtesy of Right Choice Professional. And the second prize is awarded for a total of $175. This is from the courtesy of Wood Gold LLP, Sweta Ajit Kumar. And then we also have the third prize awarded of $100. This is from the courtesy of Mark Homet and Agostino Mortgage Group. So thank you to all of our three sponsors for providing these compensations and recognizing our hard work and our artists for Voice of Men 360 during this time. And we also have a special recognition prize as well too, which is going to be awarded for $50. So let's find out who our winners are for today. So I'm going to start from top to bottom. So I'm going to start from third place. So the third place winner that we have is Mr. Kareem Daniel and Miss Adina Sandy. They created a beautiful music video. I also saw this music video. It was very well done. It was very melodious to listen to, and it showed a lot of talent, and it had a lot of meaning behind it. And though it was a very simple and elegant video, I was really, really happy to see that. So our third place winner once again is Kareem Daniel and Adina Sandy for their music video. The second place winner is Suana Pacheco. She created a theme video. So this was very, very nicely done. It was poetic, and it included a lot of videos, and it had a lot of photos as well that were matched to themes, talking about, Voice of Men 360 and the importance of mental health. So this was very well done as well too. So congratulations to you as well, Suana Pacheco. And our first place winner we have is Miss Shahari Suresh Kumar. So she created an animation video. It was very, very well done. I also saw this one as well too. So this was discussing the importance of men and fatherly figures in our life. So the paternal figure for a child, and how this can impact and how important they are, and how it is important to acknowledge their struggles and their accomplishments and celebrate that in their lives. So it was very well done. It was very well picturized. It was short, concise, and I think it speaks a very pivotal point. So you have done a great job, Shahari. So congratulations once again. And we also have one more winner. So this is Voice of Men 360 special recognition winner. So I would like to announce this in congratulations to Mr. William Bryan for a personal story through art. So absolutely, really, really well done. You have been specially recognized for your work, and I hope that you continue forward as well too in your art, as well as in communicating such important themes like this. So once again, I want to congratulate all of our winners. So that is Kareem Daniel, Adina Sandy, Suena Pacheco, Shahari Suresh Kumar, and William Bryan. So congratulations to all of our winners. Best of luck to you all. Now, before I let you all go, thank you once again to all the participants for taking all of your time to participate in our art competition and share your talents and your unique skills. We will be contacting each and one of you, and we will share more details about how you will be able to claim your prizes going forward. Thank you also to all of the judges. This includes Ms. Malika Sodinathan, N.S. Nana, Isabella Grace Lecomte, and myself. I was also one of the judges as well too. And before I let you guys go, I have a few announcements that I want to share with you. So we actually have a new live show. So this new live show is called The Unspoken Tears. So very, very thought-provoking title. I love it. I'm excited to hear more and see more about it. And I want you guys to be as excited, and hopefully you will be able to engage in it too. So we're actually going to be focusing on domestic violence against boys and men, plus bullying, human trafficking, and male sexual abuse. So we're going to be focusing on all these umbrellas of important concepts of different aspects that maybe we don't touch on as much in some other discussions. So this is going to be spoken specifically for that. So that's called, again, The Unspoken Tears. So don't forget to tune in. This is going to take place every second Saturday of every month. It'll be monthly. And our first show is actually going to be tomorrow. So that's, if you can mark your calendars, it'll be Saturday, May 8th. And that's going to be from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and that's Eastern time. So the title of this program is actually going to be called Men Too: Unspoken Truths About Male Sexual Abuse. We also have our special guest, which is going to be Dr. Kelly Palfy. She is a registered psychologist from Edmonton, Alberta in Canada. And the host of our program is going to be Mr. R.J. Horner. He is the vice president at Voice of Men 360, host and facilitator at Life and Love Life. Next week on Sunday, May 16th, we actually will have our first observance of the World Day of the Boy Child. So remember, I spoke about this in the beginning. So this is the World Day of the Boy Child. It's going to be a special forum dedicated from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern time. So the 2021 theme that we're going to be focusing on is guiding the boy child and positively impacting the world. So the host of our discussion for May 16th, so this is for the World Day of the Boy Child, that will be Mr. Oliver D. Levi. And we have speakers actually coming from USA, UK, and Canada who are going to be joining to share their messages. In addition, for those of you who don't know about our further initiatives, we have our 4 standard shows that take place weekly. So that's number 1, we've got Open Up. This is about sharing our personal life journeys, and we talk on a live talk show format, and this takes place every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. The second show that we also have is a weekly webinar. This takes place on Saturdays from 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Number 3 is a program called Viri. So this is actually a Tamil live talk show. It's very, very similar to the Open Up program, but it's hosted in the Tamil language. And it takes place on Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. And it also takes place on Sundays at 8 a.m. Eastern time. And this is usually for people who live outside of Canada, just to match their time zones as well. And lastly, number 4, we have the panel discussion, which takes place twice a month, and this also takes place in English and Tamil. And furthermore, we also have the podcast, which is also based on the concept of Open Up, which takes place in English, and you can feel free to participate at your convenience. And we also have Viri, like I said, this is the I. It means the I in Tamil, and you can participate as well, same thing, based on your convenience. And we've also recently started a monthly men's group meeting. So this takes place on the 3rd Sunday of every month from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the next one that's coming up is actually on Sunday, May 16th. And this one is strictly only for men. So any people from any walks of life, there's no limitation. We welcome any genders, ages, nationalities, or ethnic groups, all walks of life to participate in any of our shows. Furthermore, if you ever feel that you want to be a guest in one of our shows, or you're willing to be a part of our organization, lend us a hand. You can help us directly or indirectly. Just feel free to reach out to us. There's many ways to contact and get in touch with Voice of Men 360. We love to work with any individuals who are passionate towards this cause, professionals or experts, community organizations, associations, corporations, government officials, and businesses. So that includes anyone and everyone. You're welcome to join. How do you get in touch with us? So for those of you who don't know, we've got a phone number. So we have 437-889-8329. So this is a toll-free number. You can give us a call at any time and try to reach if you want to share any perspectives. If this doesn't work, we've also got an email address. So you can also contact through info@voiceofmen360.org or our website, www.voiceofmen360.org. And you can, of course, find us on all of your favorite social media platforms. So that includes our Facebook group and page. And we also have a Facebook group chat as well, too, where you can join in to see our daily activities, our upcoming schedules. And you can also please feel free to invite any friends, family, colleagues, co-workers. And you can, of course, find us also further on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. And please don't forget, if you have the chance, to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Voice of Men 360. We want to keep on reaching out to more people and help more. So please continue in your support So once again, thank you so much to all the participants today from all sides of the world. Thank you for joining in, and thank you for all the viewers and participants. God bless you all. Take care and stay safe. Thank you.